Hello, Dr. Liz. How are you?
Hello, Shalom Rav, Shavua Tov, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. How are you, Dr. Liz? Give us
All
the
good.
good news.
Okay, so some lovely news. They just had in Israel, for all our athletes out there, the Ironman, the triathlon
Yes.
in Tveria, where there was participants from 31 countries, and there were over 2,250 participants.
Okay.
And that's amazing. And this happened. It happened very recently, where they did swimming, cycling, and running. And then on Thursday night, they had the night run in Tel Aviv. But I just want to mention something actually quite amazing is that, and this is unbelievable. My brother was there. I didn't manage to go, but they had a basketball game where Hapoel Yerushalayim beat a Polish team. That's really wonderful. And what I'm so happy about this is that they just had recently in Poland, in a town called Kalitz. It's about 100,000 inhabitants, 200 kilometers southwest of Warsaw. They burnt Jewish books, and they said death to the Jews. So you know what? We beat them in basketball, and there won't be death to the Jews, and there's no Jews for them in that town to harm anyway. So, but it's amazing. It's incredible.
So now they have Gurnish mit Gurnish. Never mind.
Gurnish, yeah.
They have Gurnish.
Did away with all the Yidden. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
When you take the Yidden, there's nothing left. Only Gurnished. That's so what they're left for them. No, Baruch Hashem. Good
we
for
beat them in basketball, Rav. We beat them in
That's
basketball.
the most. We should beat them with everything.
But Rov, unfortunately, there's still some Yidden in Poland. Unfortunately,
no, in Poland, yes.
Yeah, there are not that many. There are some in Warsaw and in Krakow. There are a few, but the numbers are very low compared to.
But they don't want to leave. Those Jews don't want to leave. That's what upsets me.
It's incredible.
Ezrat Hashem, they will leave. Ezrat Hashem. Okay, guys, thank you, Dr. Liz. I'm going to mute everyone. You know what, a matter of fact, before that, Marky, I need you to take a book of Tehillim with you because it's usually your days that you read. Take a book of Tehillim because I need you to read for me from the Tehillim, okay? I'll give you the chapter to prepare, chapter 78, Tehillim 78, chapter 78, verse 7.
Okay, I'll give it.
Okay. No problem. Okay, Rabotai, so as we published that we're gonna speak about the importance of the months of 1 second. I'm gonna mute everyone. I'm gonna mute. Everyone is muted. So there's no more noise. Okay. So as we mentioned, we're gonna speak about the months of Kislev. What's so special about the months of Kislev? If I say Elul, I'm sorry. The importance of the months of Kislev. Now we are in the middle of months of Kislev, 2 weeks before Hanukkah. What's so important? That's going to be the subject of the show. But before we start, I would love to dedicate the show in honor of the soul of Esther Kaden Bat Ketzia, Mordechai ben Rahma, Harav Avraham Haim ben Eliezer Yaakov, Tamar Bat Zehava, Rachel Bat Malka Sultana, Yaakov Salomon ben Farha, Dvorah Ruth Bat Bela, Haim Eliyahu ben Yeshayahu. Please God that the words of Torah will lift up the soul to the appropriate place in heaven. Also, I would like to dedicate the shiur in the health of Liora Bat Miriam, Menashe Naji Ben Farha, Orna Bluma Bat Miriam, Harav Avraham Ben Marina, Harav Shlomo Yehuda Ben Dalia, Harav Moshe Ben Devora, Eitan Ben Hadassah, Israel Ben Zisa, Mordechai David Ben Leah, Yosef Haim Ben Esther, Dvorah Bat Esther, Sarah Devorah Bat Elka, Tzadok Ben Sarah, Shulamit Bat Haya Shein Alea, Sarah Rivka Bat Yehudit, ve'Aryeh Ben Gittel. Please God, refuah shlema to all of them and to all the Jewish people that need health. Be'ezrat Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, ve'Hashem alenu berachamav yarviach. We're going to start the shiur be'ezrat Hashem, and what's going to happen now? We're going to start. Marky, don't forget to unmute yourself. So, Kislev, what do we know about the month of Kislev? We all hear Kislev. We know that usually what's happened in the month of Kislev is Hanukkah. But before we speak about Hanukkah, I would like to introduce the month of Kislev. The word Kislev, what is the meaning of the word Kislev? The meaning of the word of Kislev, Rabota, you're not going to believe. It means faith and confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kislev means faith and confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's all what it means. Where do we learn that? We learn that from the book of Tehillim. In the book of Tehillim, David HaMelech alav v'shalom say like this, in chapter 78, verse 7, Vayasimu be'elokim kislam, ve'lo yishkahu ma'alale el u'mitzvotav intzor. Bechavod, Mark.
When the children of each generation hear the wonders that God has performed, they will place their trust in God. They won't forget God's wondrous acts, and they will keep his commandments.
Thank you, Mark. So from here, we see something very important, that the word Kislev, Rabotai, meaning one thing. What does it mean? It means trust in Hashem, faith in Hashem, confidence in the Almighty. By the way, Rabotai, that's not belong to the show, just for you for general knowledge. All the Jewish months that we have, Tishrei, Heshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, Adar, all of those months, they're not from the Torah. From the Torah given a number for the months. Every month have his number. But during the time of Shivat Zion was a time when the Jewish people that gone to exile to Babylon, when they returned to Eretz Israel, okay, when was the returning of Shivat Zion to Eretz Israel, Hazal constitute for us the names of the months. Why? Because in Babylon, they used to give them name. And Kislev is a Babylonian name. So it's very similar to that. In that time, they given them a name to all the months. So before that, before Shivat Zion, was no name for the months. Remember that. So it's only after the people that gone to exile to Babylon, after the destruction of the first temple, when those people start to return to Eretz Israel to build the land of Eretz Israel, to build Bet HaMikdash, that's when they constitute and give a name for the month. That's off the record. So we say that the word Kislev mean trust in Hashem, confidence in Hashem, faith in the Almighty. And now let's explain what it means, faith in Hashem, what it means, confidence in Hashem. So to understand that, we have to explain. We have to understand that the month of Kislev, there is a special Si'ata Dishmaya. In the month of Kislev, we have a special help from the Almighty. That's what it means, Si'ata Dishmaya. What it means, Si'ata, it's help. Dishmaya, help from heaven. Every Jew have to look and focus and to try to understand and look what's happening with him, what's happening with his family, what's happening in the world. And he will see the miracle, and he will see how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu look after us in this month. There's a lot of miracle that happen to every Jew in a month of Kislev. And Rabbeinu Behaye that I'm going to bring today is Rabbeinu Behaye Ibn Pagoda. He born in the city of Saragossa in Spain he born 976 years ago. He wrote the famous book, Obligation of the Heart, that all of you obviously heard about. And he said like this, listen to that. He explained, and he said that, you know, a person, he said like this, a person can get salvation in this month. It's according, not only on this month, sorry, a person can get salvation and help from HaKadosh Baruch Hu according to the faith and the confidence and the trust and the emunah that you have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And later on, I'll bring a story to confirm and to see when you have full confidence and full trust in Hashem, that faith never returned back, coming empty. It's not that it's not coming empty, it's coming with rewards. Not only that it's coming as salvation to the human person, he gets also reward for it. So we see that Rabbeinu Behai explained to us that faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it all depends how much faith and confidence and trust you have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. According to that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will pay you back. We have to understand that the miracle that happened to our fathers in the months of Kislev, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a great miracle for them. We know that the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done with our father during the months of Kislev, and I'm referring to the festival of Hanukkah, it was above nature. And I will explain now. We know that a small group of priests, Kohanim, okay, that they didn't have any knowledge what is weapon mean. They didn't have any war tactics idea. They didn't know nothing about war tactics. They didn't have any knowledge about fighting because there was priests. They served in Beth HaMikdash. That was their job. And they took on themselves to fight the great empire that called Greece, and they're going to a war with them. And it was a small group. At the beginning, there was 13, then they jumped to number 17 altogether, and they start a great war against the major empire in the world. Imagine 17 people today fighting against Russia or against United States of America. What is the chances? If you put statistically, people will laugh on you. But we see that those priests, those small group of priests, didn't look at the statistic. They put their faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only that, they have a full confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That means, if we look at it logically, a small platoon, okay, an average soldier platoon will come and wipe off small number of priests without taking any casualties in normal statistic. So, but those priests didn't look at it this way. Those priests decide that they're going to war and they're going to fight against the major empire of the world in that time that have the best weapon in that time, the most trained soldier that was in this time, because Chazal explained to us, if you read Megillat HaShmonaim, how trained was those Greek soldiers, what weapon they had. In that time, it was the most newest weapon that they have, the newest technology, according to what we call it in modern English. Those people in Greece have all the weapon, all the technology, okay, that you want to call it as an army, the best technology. But those small group of priests decide to go to a war, and not only that they saw miracle, they also saw wonders. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed them salvation and saved them, okay? And not only that he saved them, what happened else? That those small group of people managed to win the greatest empire of the world, that called Greece. And not only to win them, they chased them away from Eretz Israel. It's unheard of. Rabota, if you look at it, small group that started originally with 13 people, and then they jumped with another 4 people from the Hashmonaim, and then they called themselves Hamakabim. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, that's Rashi Tevot, that's the acronym of Maccabi. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, that's the name of Maccabi. And they managed to get rid of them. That's on Pshat of the Dvarim. And I would like to get into the depths of it to understand what's happening here. So if we look carefully at that war, who started the war? Who actually was the fighter to start with? The priest. But wait a minute. In a Jewish religion, we never see that priests ever go to work. As a matter of fact, we never saw any priest going to war. No priest going to war. And not only that, we know that the tribe of Levy, that from that come the priests, never gone to war. So what's happened? That in the war against the Greek Empire, we saw that the priests going to war. What's happening here? Dafka here, the priest decides to go to war. What is it? It's not simple. And not only that, Rabotai, the Kohen Gadol, Yohanan, Kohen Gadol, he was the one to go to war. Since when the holy priest going to war? You never heard about it. What's happening here? We have to understand. First of all, let's explain. What is the job of a priest? The job of a priest in a Jewish religion is to connect the Jewish people to their Father in heaven. That's their job. It's to bond the Jewish people to the Father in heaven, to connect them. And now we see that it's the opposite. The priests going to war. We have to understand what's happening here. It's not pashut like we're thinking. The Hashmonaim, we read it, the Hashmonaim going to war and they win the war. But there is here a secret that we have to understand. The job of a priest, we said, to connect the Jewish people to the Almighty. How do they connecting the Jewish people? By that the Jewish people that sin, what does he do? He bring a korban, a sacrifice. By that he take the korban, the priest, and he sacrifice them on altar. Okay, he bond them to the Almighty. Now we have to understand what's the roots of the word korban. If you take the roots of the word korban, is kirva. Kirva, it means closer. Okay, so the job of the korban is to bring us, by that we're sacrificing the korban, is to bring us closer to the Almighty. And who's the job of the person to do it? That's the priest. Okay. The Maharal Prague, who was the Maharal Prague? The Maharal Prague was Rabbi Yehuda Levy ben Betzalel. He born in Poland 501 years ago. The Maharal Prague, I have to explain that many people read the book of the Maharal, but there is a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of mystical involved with that. And today I'm going to bring a lot of ideas that the Maharal Prague bring, how to look what's happened in the war between the starting of the war, that was the priests against the Greek. And why Dafka then? The Maharal Prague explained that the Greek want the Jewish people to be divided from the Almighty. Why? By that they put, number one, the decree of Nida, that the Jewish people shouldn't keep the purity law. They didn't want us to keep the purity law. Number two, they didn't want us to have a Brit Milah. That means that the Jewish people will not circumcise their male born. The third one that they didn't want us is not to keep Shabbat. And the priests know that if you're not going to keep those 3 element things, that they're the fundamental thing in our religion, as a matter of fact, we have no chance to become closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to bond with him. And when the Greek put those decrees, immediately it was one thing in their mind, that they cannot allow the separation of the Jewish people from the Almighty. So what did they decide to do? They took a stand and they're going to war against the Greek. And that's why, because they bring us closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Greek wanted us to be divided from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The priest decided to do, now it's the time to do to the Almighty, by that they're going to lead the war. They're going to be the one to start the war against such a great empire. And that's why the priests gone to war and started the war with the Greek. Also said the Maharal Prague. If you look carefully, the Kohen Gadol usually wear in Yom Kippur 8 different kind of clothes. Why Dafka 8? Because we explained in previous showing, you'll excuse me 1 second. Much better. That number 8 represent above nature. And the 8 garment, the 8 clothes that he used to wear in Yom Kippur, that's what helped. And that's, with those clothes, he managed to do atonement to all the Jewish people. That means that the Jewish people was depending on the Kohen Gadol. And the Kohen Gadol do atonement to the entire Jewish nation. Rabbot, I listen to that on Yom Kippur. That means all the avonot, all the sin that the Jewish people have, the Kohen Gadol, it was his job to erase it. And Hazal explained, and the Maharal actually on top of it, he explained that by that he used to wear the 8 clothes that represent above nation, that means the dimension of 8, that it's above nature. Because we explained that 6 mean physicality, 7 mean spirituality. Remember, we done the show on 7. But 8 is above nature. It's something that we don't understand. He's saying that the job of the Kohanim, what was it? To connect the physicality with the spirituality. By that they take us as physical people and connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to that spiritual. That was the job. But on Yom Kippur, what is the Kohen Gadol used to do? He used to wear 8 different clothes. That means not only that he used to bond us with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he used to do another thing. He used to erase the entire sin of all the Jewish people. And that's the Chokhmah. So what's happened? We know that in Hanukkah, there is 8 days. Why Dafka 8 days? Said the Maharal Miprat, because the 6 represent physicality. 7 represent spirituality. How did he come to it? Very simple. If you take every object have top and bottom, 4 sides of the window of the world, that means north, south, east, west. Together is 6. That's everything that's physical. Then come the 7th dimension, that's spiritual. For example, if we take 6th day of the work, what is there? 7th day? Shabbat. That represents spirituality. Also, the Hatan and Kala. When we take Hatan and Kala, they have 7 days of Mishteh. What it means 7 days? The 7 days that we do 7 brachot. Why Dafka 7? Because the 7 mean that we take in the physicality of the male, the physicality of the female, and we putting them together, and we bring the 7th dimension that we bring inside both of them. That means that we bonding both of them to bring spirituality. That's the number 7. To bring inside both of them spirituality. That's why we do Sheva Brachot, Sheva Yemei Mishteh, And that's what we do. And the same with all the others that we explained last week. That mean that the 7 is spirituality, but the 8 is above nature. Said the Maharal Miprag, that's why that those 8 days that we have of Hanukkah, it's a day of a great light. What does it mean, a great light? It's a spiritual light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu light us with them. That means that he can bring on each one of us such a strong spiritual light that we even don't feel it. We can't see it. It's something that the neshama has to feel. How do you reach to all of those? By that you have faith and emunah and confidence and trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That means whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do, you have to look at it. You have to look at it as that's the best thing. That's the best thing that can happen to you. Because there's nothing bad that can happen from heaven. Even if it's looked to us bad, it's not bad. Remember that. Sometimes things look to us bad, but if we look later on, it was the best thing that happened to us. Okay? What does it mean? We have to understand that our faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to be 24/7, 365 days a year. Okay? That means that we learn from here one important thing. When the Jewish people, during the time of the Hashmonaim, got to a stage that the decree was so bad on them that they cannot have Brit Milah. They're not allowed to keep purity of the family. They're not allowed to keep Shabbos. And the Greek fought against all of those, that if they saw that the child have a Brit Milah, they killed him. If a person kept purity of the family, that woman been killed. Those that kept Shabbat been killed by the Greek Empire. And Hazal tell us the story in Megillat HaShmonaim. Also, I think it's in Masechet Shabbat, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember, okay? Erase that comment. Hazal tell us there that it was a story of 1,000 families, 1,000 people that gone into a cave and kept Shabbat. And someone told the Greek people that those people that inside the cave, they keeping Shabbat. And they asked the Jewish people to come out. If not, they're going to burn them alive. The Jewish people didn't agree to break Shabbat and didn't agree to come out. What is those wicked Greeks done? They took wood and they light a fire, and all the Jews that was inside the cave died from smoke, died from the fire. 1,000 people given their life. Why? Because they're not willing to give their faith. That means that the faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the most important thing. So we see from here that we learn that the faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the most important thing. Not only that, we have to understand, according to your faith, that's going to be your salvation, as the Maharal Miprag says. But we have another element thing in Hanukkah, and that's called the oil. Oil in Hebrew means shemen. Okay? We know that the shemen, that's what they used to light the menorah and Bet HaMikdash. But first, let's explain the source and the roots of the word shemen. Shemen means 8, shmona. Shamna, shmona. Okay? That means that the light, the menorah that they used to light in Bet HaMikdash, okay, was lit from the olive oil, we all know. But what does it mean? That it means 8, Mikshon Shmona, 8. For example, when they used to appoint a king in a Jewish religion, what they used to do to him? They used to anoint him with Shemen HaMishcha, with a special oil. The same when they used to appoint new Kohen Gadol, they used to anoint him with what? With Shemen HaMishcha. That means that the Shemen come to show us the light, the special light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring into the world. What it means, that light, that the spiritual light. And the job of the Greek, that they want us the opposite. They want us to divide from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They wanted to bring darkness to that part of our life. What it means, darkness? That they want us to forget the roots and to divide us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they wasn't stupid. The Greek philosophy, there was very smart people, the Greek philosopher. And they knew the only way that they can keep the Jews and to forgive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only one way. By that they put those 3 degrees. And that's going to bring darkness to the spiritual light on a Jewish person. Why? Because when he doesn't keep purity of the family, he doesn't do Brit Milah, and he doesn't keep Shabbat, those the 3 major covenants that we have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, immediately, it's going to divide us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what's happened? When the Greek people managed to enter Bet HaMikdash, what the first thing that they done? Rabotai, they contaminated all the oil. That the Jewish people will not light the menorah, except the little jar that they find. How did they contaminate them? Rabotai, they contaminated by opening them, and they knew if the oil is open and a Gentile touch that oil, it's been contaminated. No one that was contaminated allowed to touch it. Even a Jewish person that he was contaminated to a disease was not allowed to touch them. So Kal v'Homer, the Greek, the warriors. So the first thing that they done after they conquer Bet HaMikdash, the first thing that they done before even taking all the vessel, before anything that they done, they contaminated the oil. Why? So the Jewish people cannot light the menorah. Look how smart they was. Look how clever. They looked at everything. It wasn't just a war, a physical war. Behind that physical war was also an element and fundamental idea that to destroy the faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what did they do? They contaminate the oil like we explained. So the Jewish people cannot light the menorah. So what is our important mitzvah in Hanukkah? It's the opposite. To light the menorah, to bring the light, to light the menorah. But that we're lighting the menorah, we're bringing back the light, those spiritual light. And we don't understand it, Bezrat Hashem, in the next session of Shorim, we'll explain what is those lights, spiritual light. But the idea behind it, what's happening here? That by that we're lighting the menorah, we get connected to the Almighty, we get bonded to the Almighty. Not only that, we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu make a great miracle to the Jewish people during the festival of Hanukkah. That we explained at the beginning of the Shorim, it wasn't just a winning of the war, it was a salvation. It cannot happen that a small group of Kohanim that have no knowledge of weapon, tactics of war, they have no knowledge of it, to go and to win the great empire of the world, it's unheard of. Why am I saying it? Why am I saying it? Because on Hanukkah, one of the things that we also do, what did we do? We sing the song, Ala Nisim ve'ala Niflaot. Ala Nisim ve'ala Niflaot, we're not only singing when we light the menorah, we sing it also, Rabotai, in Tfilat Amidah, 3 times a day. We sing it in Birkat HaMazon, Ala Nisim ve'ala Niflaot, She'asita la'avotem. But we have to understand that this song is not just to make us happy. This prayer is not just to make us happy. This prayer, a matter of fact, the source to it is in Mishnah Masechet Sofrim in chapter 20. If you look at the Gemara, there is a Mishnah there. It says Masechet Avot, Masechet Sofrim. In chapter 20, in Masechet Sofrim in the Mishnah, okay? Also there is the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. in chapter 20, there Hazal tell us and constitute for us to say Ala Nisim ve'Ala Niflaot. Why? To praise the Almighty for all of His miracle and all of His wonders that He done to us on those days. So we have to remember by that we're lighting the menorah. We have to remember that we're showing our faith and our trust and confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the secret, lighting the menorah in a month of Kislev. But we have to understand that we explain that number 8 is above nature. And 8 represent, how do you write 8? You take you make 2 round circles and you join them together. Why have got 2 round circles? Because one circle represents the spirituality in heaven. And one circle represents the physicality on earth. And we come in and we say by that we're joining the physicality and the spirituality together, those 2 circles, with that power, we can be above nature. And that's the secret, just to explain to us briefly about the number 8. So what do we do in the month of Kislev? We have the festival of Hanukkah. And the festival of Hanukkah, we're lighting for 8 days to show that 8 represent above nature. Number 2, we light the menorah. What does it mean lighting the menorah? That we're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have full emunah. We have the full faith only with you. We have a full confidence only with you, no one else. That's the secret of lighting the menorah in the month of Kislev. I would like to share with you a story. It's a true story, very, very interesting story, to show faith and emunah, and until where you can push the faith. And what the greatest salvation that come when you have full emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I know that sometimes it's very difficult. Each one have his own test. And I'm speaking for myself. Not everyone all the time can have this kind of strong emunah and faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But this is our job in the month of Kislev. The month of Kislev that we have to work on our character trait, to build and to implant and to engrave in our neshama the faith, the confidence, and the emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the story that I'm going to tell is a story that happened. It's a true story that happened in Eretz Israel. Listen to that story, very interesting. The story was with a Talmid Yeshiva, Avrech, a Yeshiva boy, that got engaged. He find B'Sha'ah Tova, he find a girl, and they decide to get engaged. And the parents met, and everything gone beautifully. And he decided to surprise the Kala and her parents. He gonna buy a big bouquet of flower. So he gone to the florist and he met the owner and he started speaking, how much that bouquet, how much, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he saw a beautiful big bouquet that he wanted to send. And the owner said to him, listen, it's, unfortunately, it's 2,000 shekel. He said, listen, I'm not the person that work, but I am, I'll study in yeshiva. He said, you know what, I'll make for you a deal. I'll give it to you for 1,800. Less than that, I can't do. He said, okay, we have a deal. They agreed, they have a deal. And the yeshiva Bahur was so excited that he given the owner of the florist the money. He forgot even to give him a receipt. But he said to the owner of the florist, listen, I'm getting engaged in 3 days. This is the address, and I want you to send it to that place. No problem. on the day of the engagement, the family come first, and they're all sitting, and before the visitors come, and they're doing the vote, you know, all the thing between the family. And the Hatan look, the future Hatan, look, the yeshiva bahur, and the big bouquet that he ordered didn't arrive. And he getting kuchel inside, you know. Okay, so it might gonna another few minutes, it will be here. Nothing. You know, he got so upset and cross that he wanted actually to phone a member of the family. A member of his family, he can move things. He's really, that's mean if he pick up the phone and he'll phone the florist, the owner of the florist will go and cut the flower, and he'll make sure that the flower, the bouquet of flower will be there no matter what. Even if you have to fly overseas to bring it, he'll do everything to make sure. That's the power that's his relative here. And he was thinking to pick up the phone, to call him, not to call him. Then he said, wait 1 minute, let me call my rabbi. He phoned his rabbi and he said, listen, this is the story. At the beginning, the rabbi didn't understand what is the student wants. It took him a minute, but then the coin dropped down. He said to him, listen, I suggest to you one thing, keep quiet, don't say a word. You're not going to make a big thing of it. If you're not going to make a big thing that there is no flower, I promise you, no big thing going to happen. Anyway, the engagement finished. He apologized to the Mechutanim. Mechutanim said, we didn't even take notice. What are you talking about? Okay. Nothing. He decided that tomorrow morning or tomorrow he'll go to the florist to ask for his refund. After all, 1,800 shekel, it's a lot of money for a yeshiva bahur. Okay. The following morning, when he wake up, he remember, oh, it's the yacht side of his cousin. And he had a custom that on the yacht side of his cousin, he go to the cemetery, to his grave, and he said Tehillim, and he learned a bit of Mishnah in honor of the soul to uplift it. And that's what he done. When he finished, listen to that, when he finished to say the Tehillim, he started walking towards the exit of the cemetery. On the way, he saw people walking, you know, with the deceased, and they saw a guy with a hat, with a suit. Oh, Rabbi, come help us. We don't know what to do. We need your help. Okay, I'll come and help. We helped them. So he done the burial, and he explained the family what to do and blah, blah, blah. And he saw that they wanted to put a big bouquet of flower, listen to that, but live flower. In Jewish religion, we do not put live flower on a grave. Hazal explained that it's actually, if you do that, you cause pain to the deceased. Why? Because the Jewish people believe in the remaining of the soul. The Gentile do that. We don't. Why? Because if you take live flower and you put it on a grave, after a while they die. That means that you not believe in the remaining of the soul. Therefore, what do? We put a stone on a grave. Why dafka stone? Stone always stay. It's never disappear. Like live flower, after a while they get faded, they die, and you throw them away. But stone always stay. That means that we're putting a stone. It's giving a lot of nachas to the deceased when you put a stone on a tombstone of the grave. Why? Because we show the remaining of the soul. So he explained that to the family, and the family whisper between themselves, and they suddenly decide, if the rabbi say, we're not doing whatever the rabbi say. They say, thank you. But they said to him, what are we going to do with the flower? Rabbi, take it. He said, what am I going to do with this bouquet of flower? He said, give it to anyone that you want, give it to a shul. Anyway, now this young yeshiva bahur walking with a big bouquet of flower. And he's saying to himself, Kadosh Baruch Hu, what is it? Yesterday when I needed it, you didn't send it to me. Today when I don't need it, I have a big bouquet of flower. But you know what, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever you do, you know what you're doing, and that's what I'll do. So anyway, as he left, he dropped it in one of the shul, and because there's plenty shul in Eretz Yisrael, wherever you go, there's a shul. He dropped it there, and he gone to the florist where he made the order. When he arrived at the florist, he saw something very interesting. The door was shut down. It was a big sign that the owner of the shop passed away last night. Wow. And immediately, that's Yeshiva Bahu. He was a decent person. He said, I forgive that florist owner for the 1800 and for everything, that all the embarrassment that I have and everything. Saluh lecha, mahul lecha. And he saw that at the bottom of it, they give the address. You look at the address and he said, it's just 2 streets away. It will take him maybe 2 minutes and he'll be there. He decided, you know what? Flour, I didn't receive. Money, I'm not going to see. Let me at least go and do Nehum Avilim. Let me do a mitzvah. He walked, he get to the building, he climbed up, he opened the door of the flat was open, he walked in. When he walked in, he see the same people that he saw yesterday. What's happening here? So the people saw him. Hello, Rabbi, thank you for coming. How did you know where we're living? Now he'd been caught. He didn't know what to say. He said, look, I've gone to the flower and to your florist and I see the name and I decide to come to do Nehum Avilim. The older brother wasn't so stupid. And he said to him, tell me the truth. What men bring you here? You didn't know us. You didn't know my father. You don't know none of us. What are you doing here? No, I saw, he said, tell me the truth. Anyway, when the rest of the family saw that, they put a bit of pressure on him. And now the Yeshiva Bahu didn't know what to do. And he told them the story. That he ordered the bouquet of flower, that it didn't arrive, and he paid 1800 rand. And he said, look, I want to tell you, I forgive your father. I don't want money. I don't want nothing. I just come to do Nehum Avilim. The older son stood up and he said, listen, I want to tell you something. From yesterday until today, we're breaking, all of us here sitting, we're trying to work it out, what our father told us a few seconds before we die. Our father told us that we have to pay 1800 rand, to give 1800 rand, and not only to give the 1800 rand back to that person that we don't know who is he referring to, we also have to compensate, to compensate the person that we're going to give the 1800 rand. And now everything that we're working for almost over 24 hours, you solve it to us. So first thing, here's 1800 rand, 1800 shekel. He given him the 1800 shekel. He said to him, but our father asked us to compensate you. He said, look, I didn't come for it. I didn't even come for the 1800 shekel. He said, we know, we can see. He said, tell me, what do you do? He said, look, I'm a yeshiva bahu, I study. He said, that sounds very good. I have a deal to offer you. Suddenly, the member of the family, he looked at them, he called them, they gone aside, they was whispering, whatever they was whispering. After 2 seconds and 2 minutes, they came back and they said to him, listen, we have an offer for you. Would you mind studying for our father for the next 12 months, davening for him, studying for his own soul, and we will pay you 7,000 shekel a month. That means 84,000 shekel a year. In his heart, he said, not only for 1 year, I'll do with you a deal from now on for 10 years. Who wouldn't take 7,000 shekel? A yeshiva bahu will get 350 shekel. a day, a month, sorry, a month. Here they offer him 7. Anyway, they agree. The Baha'u Yeshiva took on himself, took the name, took everything, and started studying. And with that, this story not end. Listen to that. The Baha'u Yeshiva gone home, and he would say to himself, listen, if I didn't have the faith, and if I wouldn't ask my rabbi what to do, I would most probably will use my cousin. And my cousin has a lot of influence. He's a bit of person that can shake the wheel, shake the machine, and he will make sure that he will bring. I would never forgive myself when I would hear that that's owner of the florist died. Why? Because I would think that what caused him to die is the pressure that the member of the family put on him. And I wouldn't know that he would die from a heart attack. Instead, what happened? He put his faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't know what you're planning for me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't know what you're doing to me. But if that's what you decide to do, I have to accept it. I don't have a choice. And the moment that he done that, Rabotai, listen to me, everything changed. Not only that the money that he paid for the bouquet of flower that he didn't receive returned back to him, also he was confiscated, okay, not confiscated, compensated for the money that he didn't even plan to have. It's come to teach us, Rabotai, a very important lesson, that we have to understand that in life you have to put your faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to have trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to have a confidence that whatever happening to us, it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing it to us, it's only for good. It's very difficult, I know. To say it, it's very simple. But in those precise moments that people stand on those difficult tests, it's very difficult to think clearly and to focus. I'm speaking for myself. You obviously, all of you tzaddikim, I can't judge. I'm judging myself. But in that difficult point, how would we react? And Hazal tell us from here, and from this story, Rabotai, we can learn something very important. That when we do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do, and we put our faith on him, no harm, no problem coming. Okay? Why? Hazal explained that the months of Kislev, and with that I'm going to conclude, that the job of us in the months of Kislev, and in the job of us in, especially in Hanukkah, it's to work on ourselves. Each person has to work on his own character trait. Number one, to remember to put our faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Number two, to understand that those special days of Hanukkah is a day of special spiritual light that's coming down from heaven on us. And each one of us can feel it according to his level, according to how much his neshama can absorb. And those spiritual lights can come to us on Hanukkah, the major day. And the top of the top, that means the cherry of the top, is on 8 days of Hanukkah, because that's above nature. But that we'll speak about it, Be'ezrat Hashem, in the next show. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to work on ourselves during the months of Kislev to try to bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to come closer and to bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu during those days. This is our work on the months of Kislev, to build the emunah, the faith, and the confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how do we do it? By that we have emunah, by that we have faith and confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we actually, what we're doing in those days, Rabotai, we are working on ourselves to uplift our soul. And those the job of those days, to bring those spiritual light down to earth, to light on us, to light our neshama. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should all merit to work on ourselves, to light our neshama, to see that faith penetrating inside our neshama, to feel it, the trust, the faith, and our confidence in our Kadosh Baruch Hu, that whatever He done to us, whatever happening with us, it's all from the Almighty. And Be'ezrat Hashem, when we see that, and we reach to that level, and we see those spiritual life, we'll merit to see Mashiach Tzidkenu and the building of Bet HaMikdash speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yeh Ratzon. If there is any question, please unmute yourself and ask, and I try to answer something regarding that subject.
Hello, it's Anthony. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, Anthony. It's so nice. Thank you.
We sing Ma Osur when we light the candles. Ma Osur Yeshuati. Where does that song come from, and what does it talk about, that particular song and the tune that we sing? And do we have to sing that song and everything like that?
There is, first of all, Ma'oz too. What is Ma'oz? Ma'oz, it's a place. Not a certain place. It's Ma'oz, it's like a certain area. Tu, what it means tu, is like a mountain, like a place. That means what you're saying, the Ma'oz tu Rishoati. What was that place? What was that area for to my salvation? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's mean that what we explained today, and Be'ezrat Hashem, I'll speak about it, Anthony, in the next Shorim, will explain what it means. That means the Ma'oz is the subject, it's the area. It's the area of our salvation. What was the area of our salvation during the time of the Greek? The faith and the emunah that they have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that although that they're the majority, although that they're not qualified warriors, although that they not know anything about war tactics, we put our faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that was our salvation. You follow?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, now you're talking about the tune. The tune is just the tune that we have. Every song has a special tune, and that's one of the things that we have regarding Ma'oz. Ken, Bechavod, you wanted to ask another one.
And the other verses, the other 4 or 5 verses that we say in Ma'osu, the following 3 or 4 verses, Chazok Sarua Kochacha and Yavanim Nikbatu Alai, all those verses.
So what you're saying there, I'll just explain briefly that in Ma'oz 2, in a song, we basically saying, and we're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the salvation that He brought to us when the Greek big empire wanted to destroy us, wanted to kill us, to destroy us spiritually, to kill us physically, you understand? And that's what we're praising. Okay.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, pleasure. Anyone else that want to ask question? Bechavod, who else?
That's one. Good evening, Rob.
Oh, definitely. How are you?
Thank God yourself.
Baruch Hashem, it's so nice to
thanks
see
for this beautiful, for want of a better word, thanks for this beautiful enlightening cheer. It was beautiful. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
You're basically saying as much faith and confidence that we have in Hashem is commensurate to the amount that we'll get back from Hashem, the much we put in. Now, does this specifically apply more so in the month of Kislev because of the Hanukkah Chag that we have? Is it specifically more so now?
So, first of all, what Rabbeinu Bechaya say, he don't speak only about now. No, not at all. He's speaking all the time. And every day of the year, but especially on Hanukkah, because it's a month of salvation to the Jewish people, Like Nisan mean the month of miracle to the Jewish people, as you know. But Kislev is a month of salvation. So how much so if you have the faith and you have the confidence and the emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you receive salvation according to your own faith, confidence, and emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You speak about all year round, all the 12 months. But in the month of Kislev, it's completely in a different level. You understand what I'm saying, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Why? Because the month of Kislev is a month of salvation.
Okay, right. So we're also, you mentioned the number 8. We are in the world of Asiya, world of action, of physicality. So it does. So in this particular time, does it bring the light down in order to infuse it with the light from?
Okay.
From
very good question. Very good question. So as you mentioned, we are in Olam Asiya, the work of physicality. The world of physicality is the physical world that you have to go and work, you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to drink, you have to do many things. You know what I'm saying? You have to create it. But the chokhmah in this world is to bring the spirituality into it. And that's the number 7. You follow? How do you do that? That all week around you work, 6 days a week you work. On a 7 days, Shabbat, strike. What it means Shabbat? Not Shabbat, Shabbat, striking. By that you're not working, you're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I belong to your army. I belong to the spirituality. On a Friday night, as you sing and you say, Lecha Dodi or Baruchu et Hashem Amvorach, you get the Neshama Yetera, the extra Neshama. What is that? That's the spiritual soul that you get. And above it, what's come above it? What's the most important thing above it? It's above nature. That the spirituality, as much that you become more holy and more spiritual, you can reach to a higher level to see salvation. Why? Because if Has v'Shalom there is anything against any Jewish person, I don't want to say you Has v'Shalom against any Jewish, what's happening, Jeffrey? He can see above nature. What is it above nature? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to his faith, that he have that human being in HaKadosh Baruch Hu create his own salvation. A person have to do ishtadlut. You have to go and work. If you're not going to go to work, you're not going to get money. Pashut. But if you go to work and you do everything that you can, the rest you have to leave it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do you understand what I'm saying?
A great answer. Thanks, Rob. Very good. Thank you.
I hope that I explained that.
Clarified a lot. Thank you.
Pleasure, 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 pleasure. Any other question, Rabotai? If there is any other question, Bechavod? No. In that case, I would like to take the opportunity and to thank all of you for being with us, for listening to the show. Please God, next on Thursday, we're going to do on Parashat Shavua. And next week, we continue again with the next series. And now we're going to speak about Hanukkah. We'll explain what is Hanukkah. We look in depth. Be'ezrat Hashem will try to bring what is Hanukkah. So in the meantime, to wish you all a great new week, Shavua Tov, and keep well, keep safe, look after yourself, and wishing you all the best for the new week. Shavua Tov u'mvorach to all of you, and have a good night. Laila Tov to everyone.
Thank you, Rob.
Shavua
Thank you.
Good night.
Shavua Tov,
Nice.
Shavua Tov, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course,
All
I
the best.
enjoyed it.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.